Doctors, what was the best excuse you've heard for someone having something stuck in their ass? Not an ass, but a vagina. I was doing my clinical rotation in 3rd year. Did a cervical assessment on 36 weeks pregnant woman who thought she was in labor, painful cramping, plus discharge. I found 8 cloves of garlic. She thought she could avoid group B strep with it. She read it online. She thought they would dissolve. 1. You can't avoid GBS like this. 2. They turn to slime mush bulbs. They don't dissolve. She was not in labor, she was responding to an infection. A nasty one. She was admitted for fluids, object removal, meds, and monitoring of fetus for treatment overnight. I finished my 24-hour shift before the next OB wrapped up. Cramping stopped very soon after we got it all out. Last I saw her she was just feeling sad and dumb. I felt really awful for her. She was trying to do the right thing for her pregnancy. GBS, gut bacteria found in 1 out of 3 of adults at any time. Some countries screen for its presence because in rare cases it does nasty things to baby if they get colonized at birth. The best one I've heard is a priest who had peeled a potato and left it on the side for his dinner. He decided to hang the curtains back up while nude, and fell off the stepladder onto it. It was in the UK paper years ago. If I find it I'll post the sauce. I went to med school in the deep south. Burly, middle-aged southern gentleman showed up in the ED chief complaint, rectal pain. After a full history and physical examination couldn't ascertain the case of his pain other than him saying, "Feels like something's up there." We decided to start with some x-rays. Before we obtained them, he says, "Alright, I'm gonna be square with you. I was walking down the street, minding my own business, when these thugs jumped me out of nowhere, and held me down and stuck a cucumber up my butt. Please, you got to get it out." I immediately went to get my attending. One surgical consult and GI consult later, a cucumber wrapped in a condom was extracted from this man's rectum. A college friend who is an OR nurse said the best thing she ever witnessed was a small snow globe with the message "World's Greatest Dad" on the inside. I'm a nurse, a male as well. Guy came to my hospital with a cue ball stuck in his rectum. Said, him and his wife were having sex and this happened. Made no excuses and showed no shame. ER doctor was unable to remove it with forceps and he had to get anesthesia to have a minor surgical procedure to get it out. My job was basically to just go through a pre-surgical checklist and send him on his way. When I'm done he shouts excitedly, "Alright, let's get this ball rolling." I almost died laughing. It was near the end of my shift and I always wonder what happened to him. I'm sure he did fine and is back to having amazing kinky sex with his wife. Presented at ER in Sydney with carrot stuck in the arse. Doctor, what happened? Patient, I heard a noise in the garden. Went to investigate. Slipped and fell over. Carrot went up my bum. Doctor, carrots grow upside down out your way, huh? Friend's mom was a nurse. A man came into ER with a cucumber in his bum. Apparently he was vacuuming his fruit shop in the nude and slipped over. Saw someone with a remote control stuck way up in their colon. She said she was getting herself ready for anal sex with her boyfriend and then it got stuck. The kicker was that she showed up to the hospital with her boyfriend and her husband in tow. I worked on a surgical ward for a while and we had a few strange items. I can't tell you what their excuse was because we saw them post-operatively. One guy stuck, not 1, not 2, but 3 snooker balls up his bum. One guy stuck a clay pigeon up his bum. That one was pretty impressive. One guy, 92-year-old, tried to fish out a vibrator with a coat hanger. And my personal favorite, a guy stuck an old Nokia 3310 up his bum. They x-rayed him and took him to theater. They kept trying to fish it out, but he kept getting phone calls from his mom wondering where he was. Every time she rang, the phone would vibrate further up his bowel. Remember how back in the day you could get those crappy $2 ringtones where it wouldn't sing the lyrics but it would buzz to the words and music? Guess what his ringtone was? Will Smith's Gettin' Jiggy With It. Thank you and good night. Bring it. Jesus Christ, my moment has come. A friend of mine used to work in a dispatch call center for emergency services. In these call centers, there needs to be a triage nurse on site to deal with life-threatening situations. So my mate tells me about this story she had, where a man came in with a garden gnome up his hoop. His story was that he went shopping and locked himself out the house, so needed to climb back in through the second floor window, fell back, and got entered by the gnome. I mean, The gnome was inside his pants, like there was no gnome-shaped hole in his pants, but whatever, let's call it a miracle. So anyway, they get this gnome out, fishing rod and all, patch him up and send him on his way. 3 hours later, a different dude comes in with the same problem and the same story. After cutting through the bull crap, they determined the two blokes had been gnoming each other, realized they both needed doctors, arranged to go to different hospitals with this 200 IQ story, and one of them got mixed up. Still makes me laugh to this day. Guy came in with a cordless phone up his ass, like one of the old school ones from 15 years ago. He said that when he was in the kitchen bending over opening the oven door, someone threw it through his open window and it just went right up. There was a news story in my country. A man went to the ER and they discovered that he drunkenly put 2 hammerheads in his ass, his reasoning being that he ate a jar of preserved cherries with pits and then had abdominal pain and wanted to smash the pits. I stuck it up there on purpose and now it's stuck. Please help. It was a perfectly honest and valid reason for have something stuck up your ass, and we helped. No further questions needed. A light bulb. You could always tell when someone came into the ER with something lodged in their rectum because everyone would be standing around looking at the X-ray. It was still in perfect light bulb shape. I have no idea how the patient got it up there without breaking it. Guy told me he was constipated so he stuck the broom handle up there to break up the poop. I almost believed him. Edit, it was half of a broom handle, cut off and wrapped in electrical tape. All the way inside his ass. When I was a student working in an ER, a guy came in with an unraveled wire hanger stuck and hooked up there. He said he was trying to fish out the vibrator he lost. Did you find the vibrator? Trying to reduce prolapsed hemorrhoids he developed after a long arduous poop, doctor term. Of course, I wondered how a vegetable peeler was the most available object to be had in the bathroom. The vegetable peeler became stuck, as these things tend to do. However, this was the kind with slits in the plastic and his formerly prolapsed hemorrhoid tissue protruded into the slits, making it impossible to remove, also cutting off blood supply which made them necrotic by the time we went to the OR. What kills me is that his next move to try to remove this object from his anus was to try to cut it out with scissors. OMG. It was horrible. A jagged piece of plastic wedged in, horrifying and, indeed, quite memorable. I've got this one. Not a doctor but triage. Guy comes in, walking, kinda awkwardly. Doesn't take a seat. When it's his turn, he's called up to triage and again, refuses to sit. What brings you in today? I said. I've lost a glass. You know, like a tumbler. Okay. So, why are you here? Well, we had a party that got out of hand last night. I was cleaning the house this morning and I noticed one of my drinks glasses was missing. And I think it might be up my ass. That's it as far as explanation, but sure enough, there it was on X-ray. Rim side first, so after it disappeared up his asshole, it basically filled itself with crap. Now, anytime people that know the story ask if I've seen something they've lost, I ask if they've checked their arsehole. So I actually once did fall naked in my bedroom and my ass cheeks smashed hard onto the end of a small dumbbell that was angles up at 45 degrees. I'm coming to realize after reading all of this that had it hit the bullseye, no one would have believed me. A friend of mine works at reception in an ER. She actually had a story about a guy who came in with a dumbbell in his rectum. Although he was considered high priority, they were super busy and there was nowhere near the front to stand, so she told him to wait in the rear. ER nurse, I tried to dig something out of my ass with a barbecue skewer. Skewer got stuck. Ripped a hole in his intestines. He waited so long to come in he was septic. One stat OR visit and an ICU stay later. Please don't call my mom. Guy was tripping hard on LSD. Not quite the same, but I was in a lecture where someone asked a doctor the strangest foreign body he'd removed, and he said removing a whole carrot from a rectum was pretty memorable. Girl next to me piped up, OMG, how did someone swallow a whole carrot? Oh, you sweet summer child. It always boils down to the person accidentally sat on it. The best my dad saw, a former emergency doctor, was a young guy who accidentally sat on a giant tub of Vaseline. Accidentally. I asked how doctors record that in their patient files, and the common way to do so is to say the patient claims to have sat on X object. My sister is a surgical nurse and a guy came into the hospital with a pool noodle shoved up his ass. It was so deep that they had to cut open his abdomen, intestines and colon to cut the foam out of him. He said he fell on it while swimming nude. But when they cut him open, it had a condom stretched over the end of it. When they confronted him, he said, "Please don't tell me, wife."
This is RedditJoe channel, and don't forget to hit subscribe down below for more upcoming videos.